Welcome in, everybody. We'll get going here in just a few minutes here. What up, what up? Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos, and we are broadcasting to you live from Phoenix, Arizona. All right, today we do dive into the Idaho 4. Sounds like most of you are familiar with the case, but not entirely up to date on it. So we will look at some updates. I'll kind of explain what's going on with this online profile, Pappa Rodger. Some people seem to think that that was Brian Kohberger. Good to see everybody. Jibbo and the Melodies, Julia Burns, Arizona. Madison Mogan, Kaylee Goncalves, Zana Kernodal, and Ethan Chafin. In the early hours of November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were fatally stabbed in an off-campus residence in Moscow, Idaho. On December 30th, 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohberger was arrested in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. Okay, so this might kind of give you an idea of where this live stream is going to go. This was put out by Daily Mail Title of this article is Brian Kohberger's new mugshot tantalizes his twisted fans. So let's see if you guys are tantalized by this. Do you see what I did with his eyes here? He's looking over at that Pappa Rodger. Brian Kohberger's twisted fans, who are infatuated by quadruple murder suspect, have descended into a frenzy after his new mugshot was published this week. Yeah, and the person on the right on the thumbnail, apparently she runs some Facebook group dedicated to Brian Kohberger. She's been gaining some notoriety. All right. Twisted fans who are infatuated by quadruple murder suspect have descended into a frenzy after his new mugshot was published this week. The 29-year-old criminology lecturer is accused of stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death in 2022 in a crime that shocked the nation. Kohberger was transported 300 miles from Idaho's Latah County to Ada County last week after a judge ruled it would be unfair to hold his murder trial where the stabbings occurred due to the community's emotional ties to the horrific case. New video footage shows the moments he boarded a plane wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs to fly to Idaho's capital, Boise, on Sunday. He was later photographed being transferred in a black SUV to Ada County Jail. The Ada County Sheriff's Office has since published his new mugshot, showing Kohberger with an unkept beard and bloodshot eyes. Yeah, what's with these eyes? It's weird. But members of troubling Facebook groups set up to support the accused killer, who has already built up a horde of female fans, have since leapt to his defense and praised how he looks. Here, I'll show you some examples. The look of confidence, and this is them commenting on his new mugshot. The look of confidence. I'm not seeing any stress. He looks like he's been on holiday, relaxed, calm, and well looked after. What the fuck? Hot, like a movie star. He doesn't look worried to me. This is real? He looks handsome. That's what they're talking about. Why is he not smiling, LOL? He looks like a zaddy that way. What the hell is a zaddy? Somebody's going to have to help me with that one. What's up, Vertigo? Miss JSV. She Warrior. Jibbo. Not overkill, putting a screw in Keenan's tuna. 90s were dark. Wasn't this Pappa Rodger thing found before Kohberger was arrested? Yes. Yeah, this is definitely a true crime rabbit hole. I tried to find and I looked to see if it's been debunked. I couldn't find anything. I think I might have a good explanation. So maybe you guys could debunk my theory. Anna Melodies, what's up? Periwinkle, how are you? CJK, Cindy. Low ears and psychosis. Watch out for these low ear having mofos. All right, let's get back to this article here. One Facebook user creepily commented on his mugshot, hot like a movie star. That scruff is looking good on him. A second added to a group named Updates on Idaho Murders, Brian Kohberger. Trial updates will be included. That must be the entire name of the Facebook group. A third question, this is real? He looks handsome. Another wrote, he looks like he's been on holiday, relaxed, calm, and well looked after. In another group called Justice for Brian Kohberger, one person claimed he has no murderous eyes. He has no murderous eyes, man, because I do believe, old chap, that he is innocent. What? Look at these eyes. The accused murderer had already built up a disturbing fan following. Like, what the fuck is that? With previous reports that he had received handwritten love letters in colored envelopes while in custody in Latah County. An employee at the jail who did not reveal their name but claimed to have frequent contact with the inmate told the press it's disturbing. That's beyond disturbing. Like, what the hell is going on here? Zaddy. Thank you. I was wondering what this is. Let's take a look here. She Warrior has the definition. Zaddy's a sexually attractive man, especially an older one who is fashionably or charismatic. Fashionable or charismatic. So many people go for Jeffrey. He's a zaddy. What the? Thank you for that. I think that's the first time I ever heard that. What are murderous eyes like? Apparently that. Murderous. All right. He gets these letters a couple of times a week. They're usually handwritten with hearts and stars, colored envelopes, he said. Everyone in jail talks about how weird it is. So disturbing, weird. It is unclear what these letters said, but it appears that many are from people who believe he is innocent or are confessing their love. Like, this cannot be real. Oh, here's that woman, Brittany Hislop. That's who's on the cover here. I kind of blocked out her face, but she's all over the place. A 36-year-old single mother from Kentucky previously penned love letters and sent revealing photos to Kohberger. Hislop called Kohberger her divine masculine counterpart and twin flame, and would often express her infatuation with him on her Facebook page. At one point, she wrote, I don't want to say disrespectful things about my love interest when I hold him in high regard like I do as being my divine masculine counterpart. But it's understandable how, without my personally knowing him, that I'd not know if he would, in fact, get with a female that just wants to steal my wish fulfillment. Although, if he is like that, I definitely wouldn't hold him in high regard anymore, since I think a lot less of him. And I have a strong faith that my true love wouldn't ever do that. My true love. This is weird. She continued, I've already been down that road with my son's dad as well, who definitely showed signs of how he's not my twin flame, considering the toxicity from him that doesn't exist within the twin flame connection. What is a twin flame? And the wrong ways he did me. I just want to remember the emotional ways I felt about my love interest, Brian, and how they've been authentic in terms of loving and caring him and his well being. I want to remember how I felt when I seen his first mugshot from the jail he's currently in, as well as how I felt seeing him at his last court appearance, which were both loving and caring ways as well as concern for his well being. The Ada County Sheriff's Office declined to comment on whether Kohberger's fans had already started sending him mail at his new jail. All right. What do you guys make of that? I mean, is it a classic case of hybristophilia? Yep, like Richard Allen's for sure. I've never heard that. Sounds like old time phrenology, which was BS. What's up, Melissa? Hey, what's up, Boston? Older, so are these girls teens? No. Madison was 21, Kaylee was 21, Zaina was 20, and Ethan was 20. They were just young people. Young adults. Okay, this is disgusting. Who in their fucking mind goes out of their way to contact a medium ugly inmate charged with quadruple homicide? So he doesn't look like a movie star? But he's a zaddy. Yeah, there you go. Major zaddy issues. What a weird word. Looks like blue eyes. Yeah, definitely blue eyes. I mean, he kind of creeps into the courtroom too. Like kind of hunched over, like looking all guilty and shit. Yeah, he's a creepy dude. Those women are sociopaths. That's why they can relate to another sociopath. Maybe. What about hybristophilia? I think I had a good article here. Oh, and by the way, she was dating another killer, that woman, Brittany Hislop, before she started getting into Brian Kohberger. Let's take a look at him. His name was Cody Hall. So she has a history. So this is the guy she was kind of after before Brian Kohberger. Just a little article here. A man convicted in a deadly 2017 shooting and machete attack in Pulaski County was sentenced to more than 2 decades in prison. So these are the guys she's after. This dude, a shooting and machete, was sentenced to more than 2 decades in prison. Cody Hall would apologize at his sentencing hearing where he received the recommended 23-year prison sentence. Prosecutors say he shot and killed 50-year-old Scott Holbrook before attacking 2 women with the machete at a home in Brownston community. Hall would initially claim his attack was in self-defense, but he later pleaded guilty to the charges against him in May. Family members said they were willing to forgive Hall after his attorney read the apology, saying that's what Scott Holbrook would have wanted. Last time he didn't even look at us or anything. I'm just glad he said he was sorry. I just hope that it wasn't just a statement that he really meant it. Holbrook's sister Lily McGlone said. Hall initially faced nearly a dozen charges before entering his guilty plea. She's like, I found a more sadistic individual. I mean, how do you outdo a shooting and machete attack? So she was gushing over this dude before she began gushing over Kohberger here with murderous eyes. I think there was an update. Let's watch this.
Leading a pivotal decision in the trial of Brian Kohberger, the man accused
Can you guys
of
hear that?
murdering 4 University of Idaho students in late 2022. The judge in the case heard more than 6 hours of arguments on Thursday on whether the trial should be moved from Lata County, where the gruesome murders took place, to Boise, hundreds of miles away. Kohberger's defense is requesting the change, claiming the local jury pool has a, quote, mob mentality. Listen.
In other parts of this
Love
state,
that first mugshot.
people don't recognize as many media items as they do in Lake Tot County. That's good because that means right to prejudgment. So that's good. That's hope.
That's a good question.
There, that we can find a jury somewhere in this state to give Mr. Kohberger
Cuckoo's
his right
nest.
to a fair trial.
Prosecutors argue moving the trial will cause more problems, and there are ways to identify bias among jurors.
The pervasive media coverage across the entire state has simply created some complications and difficulties.
Yeah, they were pretty young.
County. The more productive conversation to have is how can we craft questionnaires that will ask jurors factual questions that help us identify sources of bias.
All right, all big questions there. So let's bring in Robert Schock, former Nassau County Assistant District Attorney, to talk more about this. You know, Robert, everybody was following this case. We covered it so heavily here at Fox.
Yeah, I truly believe he is
The
cold-blooded.
world was following it.
He was a serial killer in training.
Murder mystery in a small college town. So does the defense have a point here? What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, very often change of venue motions are filed and they're just pro forma. They're asking for a change of venue. Judge, my client can't get a fair trial. The media is covering this. But in this situation, what the defense did well was they went out and they polled local residents and they had testimony as to their results of that polling, where it even showed that there is an inherent bias, that people cannot be fair, that if he were to be acquitted, people would storm the courthouse, there would be riots. Now, on the other hand, it's a very small sample size. And so the judge has to balance.
CJ.
And you heard what the judge said ending testimony the other day, that the judge has one of the hardest decisions in their career to make is whether or not to change venue here.
Yeah, in fact, we have that clip from the judge. So why don't we go ahead and play exactly what she said, or he said, sorry.
Yeah, Leslie, we're going to go over the timeline too here in a minute, probably towards the end.
I would say this is probably professionally the most difficult decision I've ever had to make.
My
I
first
know
love
there
did a
are lot
machete
of
attack.
Considerations,
You've really outdone yourself.
practical, in terms of logistics and prejudicial
Crazy.
media. So I have some work to do.
So sure, there are the logistical and practical considerations, but what about what the prosecutor said there
Bullish in Seattle.
about there
When is he
being
free?
other ways to
When he
identify bias
got a
within a
ton of
jury
work
pool?
for
What
Ann.
about that? I mean, there certainly have been many other high-profile cases
Well, he
that have
go
had
ton work
changes
for
of
huh?
venues. I think Scott Peterson, there were some serial killer cases that were moved. So what about what the prosecutor said?
Yeah, I mean, the prosecutor obviously wants to keep it local. The police
Homicidal
are all
idol.
local. The witnesses are all local. The victims' families would have to travel 6 hours. It would be a logistical nightmare if I.
Yeah, I believe they actually started a GoFundMe, if I'm not mistaken, just for funds. I'm sure they want to at least, I don't know, what would you fly, drive?
Financial nightmare more likely than not, but we have to remember the goal is that the defendant gets a fair trial. Criminal defendants are not
Susan.
people that the general public wants to give protections to. However, the Constitution of the state of Idaho and the United States says otherwise, and no one wants to try this case again. However, the prosecutor made a very good point. Lawyers are trial lawyers, and they're worth their weight in gold when they can flesh out bias and jury selection. They can fashion questionnaires. The judge can do pre-screening to see whether or not there's biases. And another thing that the judge could potentially consider as an alternative to please both parties is let's expand our jury pool. Let's go
What's going on,
outside
Melissa?
this county and bring in people from other surrounding counties to the jury pool. So there's less of a possible inherent bias, and we're getting a greater mixture of the population to ensure that there's a fair trial here.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think? Do you think that Brian Kohberger could get a fair trial there in Lawtah County?
Brian Kohberger's case has gotten, as you said, so much publicity throughout the country, not just Idaho, from New York to California. And with the internet and Twitter and Instagram and people's ability to follow with crime, story podcasts and television shows and reporting.
Wonder if Ann Taylor gets the EDGBs from him.
I would say in the 90th percentile is going to know about this case and have potentially already made a determination as to whether they think something happened and whether he did it. So again, moving it, you gotta balance it.
But I blocked out their
faces.
faces.
The judge will grant it. I think there will be some kind of expansion of the jury pool and fashioning of questionnaires to start. But you got to remember, no one wants to try this case again. Not the prosecutor, not the defendant.
Yeah, for sure not.
Heard that before. All right. Let's look at some of these headlines here. Idaho student murder suspect Brian Kohberger asked new judge for courthouse wardrobe exception. So he doesn't like wearing the orange jumpsuit. He wants to wear like a suit and tie. What do you guys think about that? I think perception is important. If you walk in there looking like a criminal, the jury's going to treat you like one. Latah, I always say Latah. Latah. Surprised I even know how to read. Here's another one. Idaho murder victim's family forced to fundraise to attend Brian Kohberger trial in new jurisdiction. Isn't that crazy? I wonder if that should be covered. Welcome in. What's in a name? They always say the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath is a sociopath dresses nice. But he's definitely both. What's up, Jari? I think a defendant has the right to wear street clothes. I agree. Not convicted yet. Shouldn't have to look like a convict. That's where I'm at with it. All right, let's look at this Hybristophilia angle. That's what it is, right? That's what it boils down to. Would you agree? Here's Ted Bundy. I think that's his wife, right? And he had this kid while he was in prison. Shit is crazy. Yeah, I'm not looking for a debate. What is there to debate? I don't care what they wear. They found BTK guilty wearing a suit. Doesn't matter. Yeah, give him a suit. That's what I'm saying. You give it to him. Give him a damn cowboy hat if he wants. So why are you doing this? Why'd you do this, bro? I went to WSU with Kohberger. We would have been in the same graduating class, 2018. Luckily, never ran into him. Yeah, luckily. You heard what happened to his classmate. Jibble will do it. There you go. You found one. Jibble's ready. He's up to the task. She has a list of facts. Yep, that's always helpful. Here's Charles Manson and his wife. What the fuck? Like, if he was not Charles Manson, in what world is she dating him? I mean, look at his damn eyebrows. Bushy as all hell. Here's some of his crew. You know, they just blindly follow him. X's in their head. What the fuck? I think this is one of the Menendez brothers. Ooh. He's ready for that debate. Julie says, Kaylee Goncalves was in the same sorority as me at U of I. Lots of our sorority sisters are going back in November with the U of I chapter to honor all four. That's nice. What's up, Boston? When I look at his wife, Bundy, let me go back. There, all I can see is that poor little girl in the university campus helping him with books into his car. I think they said within a couple of minutes he used a hammer. This man killed over 80 women. And that's attractive to her. What the? Make that make sense if you can. Here, I found a good article. Maybe this will help. I think it's from A&E. True Crime Blog Stories and News. Published 2017. Updated March of 2020. Why are some women sexually attracted to serial killers? And there's Ted right here. representing himself with a bow tie as she what? Gushes. Carol Boone smiles while Theodore Ted Bundy reaffirms his proposal of marriage. He proposed to her. I think there's a video of that out there as well. What the hell's going on? Miss Dog Lover, welcome in. Marta's Place. You have to have something mentally wrong with you to fantasize in any way over him. That's psychotic. Yeah, something's up with that. Bundy's wife believed he was innocent until he began confessing to extend his life. Yeah, he did take a plea. So did Gary Ridgway. All right, let's take a look here. If you're reading this, chances are you're fascinated by true crime and perhaps the seemingly inhuman motivations of those who commit the most lurid crimes. For some women, though, this fascination goes even further. Hybristophilia, a condition where sexual arousal is linked to a partner who acts out against society via outrage and crime, is one scientific reason why women might be drawn to serial killers and even in some cases have romantic relationships with them. Yep. It's got to be. I mean, that's what it boils down to, right? Maybe that's what it is with Richard Allen, too. Over with the Delphi case. Hybristophilia. She wanted the rights to his story, in my opinion. Maybe. Bundy used a loophole in the law to both propose and legally marry Carol during the murder trial. Wow, so crazy. Yeah, you should go listen to some of the stories of the survivors of Ted Bundy. There was one who survived just because she happened to cut her hair. He was into long brown hair. She just happened to cut it, a day or two before that. And he had been stalking her, so that killed it. It ruined the whole fantasy for him. Being into bad boys is one thing, but a potential killer, check yourself, honey. Be better. Let's read this. Ted Bundy received hundreds of love letters while behind bars, and Richard Ramirez married one of his fans, but criminologist Dr. Melissa Hamilton thinks hybristophilia is just a small part of the psychology. I think the sexual arousal possibility is likely attributable to a relative few cases, she says. A&E True Crime spoke with her about this intriguing phenomenon. Why do you think women fall for serial killers? There is no one-size-fits-all response. The reasons may be one or more of the following. Number one, the not-so-uncommon desire for the bad boy, particularly with more immature females. So that goes to what you were saying, Julia. Number two, attraction to deviance, which can trigger in the brain the release of the neurotransmitter norepinephrine, which itself increases arousal and attention. In other words, the deviance of the relationship can be felt positively. Hybristophilia. Number four, feeling she can change him, which also partly explains the general desire for bad boys, and or that he is simply misunderstood. had an unfortunate childhood, or lacks sufficient self-control. Number 5, fame. Now, I think that's what plays a big role in this girl here. She's getting a lot of notoriety. So maybe that's what that's all about. Mental illness. That's number 7. Number 6 is seeking a safe and controllable relationship. What? How is that safe? Number 7 goes to what you were saying, Miss Doglover, mental instability. Number 8 is feeling of being special in that he chose her of all the women seeking him. That's interesting. Number 9, an evolutionary psychologist would say that the male's aggression is an attractive quality to women as a means of survival against attackers. That makes sense. It's like they just have a wire crossed, they're just missing the point. The novelty of it and attention getter. I think that kind of goes back to the fame. Number 11, potentially financial in terms of selling the story or the killer's memorabilia through likely infrequent as an explanation. So who brought that up earlier? Somebody said they wanted rights to his story or something along those lines. Can't remember who it was in the chat. What is it about serial killers that make them appealing? The photos of these men may appear on a daily basis in various media outlets, so the women may be acting on conscious or unconscious desire for secondary fame. Also, serial killers can be charismatic, smart, or cunning, risk takers, and focused, all qualities which could explain their ability to attract and trap so many victims in the first place. Those qualities can be appealing in a partner as well. They may also be master manipulators, creating the image they wish to protect and convincing others of its reality, despite evidence to the contrary. They can be very good at playing different roles, which one being a nice, seemingly safe, and trustworthy person. So that's got to be it. Welcome in, Mary C. Yeah, they ain't got nothing better to do. Hey, what up? Dan the Curious Contrarian. Welcome on in. What are you up to? All right, so you guys were asking who? Pappa Rodgers. What the hell is that all about? I was hoping you guys could tell me. So I do remember this social media account posting about the murders before they arrested Brian Kohberger. And they're also saying he kind of looks like him. And he does a little bit. Are those eyes photoshopped? Yes, 100%. They're his eyes. I just moved them over a little bit. Just chilling, brother. Hopefully well. Hopefully you're well. Yes, I am well. Thank you. Good to see you. What are you up to? Just chillaxing. The court, they act like tender, delicate angels that are just misunderstood and wrongly accused. Yeah, good to see you. Welcome in. All right, let's look at some of these posts here. Of the evidence released, the murder weapon has been consistent as a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath. This evidence was released prior to autopsies. So how the hell did he know that? Now, my theory is he was making so many predictions, he just happened to be right, this one time. Look, he has all kinds of shit. Day 39, the killer is not in the victim's immediate circle. Like, what is he talking about? The killer is not a student. Thoughts? It's like doing a social experiment. Can somebody post actual evidence showing where the bodies were found? No, this won't be popular, but this is where I think the victims were found. I feel like the white car is irrelevant. Fight me. Law enforcement is no closer to solving this than they were 30 days ago. And then here's somebody responding saying, Pappa Rodger is wiped from Facebook. Here's another one. Did the killer stop at 4 victims out of exhaustion, convenience, or lack of knowledge? Like, who asks these questions? It's like some mad scientist like poking at a lab rat. Regardless of what has been released, I believe this is a sexually motivated crime. Did the killer drive, walk, or some combination of both to the scene? A knife is a very risky weapon if you know you are going to murder 4 people. Do we think the killer also had another weapon, such as a stun gun? So I think it boils down to how did he know about the sheath? That was before they put the probable cause affidavit out. So I haven't seen anybody debunk it, but the rumor is that Pappa Rodger is in fact Brian Kohberger. You be the judge. I say no. Seems like he really only got one piece of information correct, and that was the knife sheath, even though that was huge. Miss Doglover, is Pappa Rodger an accomplice? I don't think so. I mean, shit, who would know? But why does the picture look like Brian Kohberger? And remember, he was putting out these questionnaires before the murders happened. It's like some science experiment for him. Weird. He knows about the sheath because he left it there and it's bothering him. Yeah, because then he tries to kind of like explain away the significance of the car. It's like, oh, the white car is not really important. And this dude was beyond active on social media. What's up, Ziggy? We're going to get out of here in about 10 minutes. But before that, we can kind of take a look at this timeline. So you got Moscow, Idaho on the right, Pullman, Washington on the left. And this is how they tracked him. So if you can see, I have it broken down here, 1 through 10. So 1 being Moscow, August 21st, 2022. Brian Kohberger's phone is picked up close to the Moscow murder house between 10:34 p.m. and 11:35 p.m. He makes 11 subsequent visits before November 13th, before the November 13th murders. Oh, and this Pappa Rodgers guy also got the timing right. Like, he was part of some group of people who were commenting, and one of the questions was, how long do you think the killer was in the home? And Pappa Rodger responded, 15 minutes. And then later, the probable cause affidavit came out, and that's exactly what it said in there. Okay, now let's bounce over to number 2 here. November 13th, 2022, 2:42 a.m. Kohberger's phone is picked up near his home in Pullman, Washington. That's 2:42 a.m. Number 3, at 2:47 a.m., phone began to travel south through Pullman before going offline. So it's heading kind of towards Moscow during this possible route, right? Now let's go over to number 4. Between 4 a.m. and 4:20 a.m., Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Goncalves, Zana Kernodle, and Ethan Chafin are murdered. It was really, and in the affidavit, it says like 4:05 to 4:20 or like 4:02, something like that. But he guessed that right as well before it was made public. All right, let's go back down to number 5. At 4:48, that's not much longer after that happened, Kohberger's phone pings again on Idaho State Highway 95, south of Moscow. I mean, this is painting a pretty clear picture here. Let's go to number 6. At 5:30 a.m., phone arrives back at Kohberger's home. Number 7, and that was in Pullman. Number 7, 9 a.m., Kohberger's phone begins to move. So at 9 a.m., he's in Pullman, and at 9:32, phone is picked up near Moscow murder house. Number 9, at 12:36 p.m., Kohberger drives past Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand. Number 10, at 12:46 p.m., Kohberger visits Albertsons grocery store. And isn't there some talk of people looking for the murder weapon here? Like somewhere along this river? I mean, why would he come down here? It almost seems as if number 5, he turned his phone on so he can kind of look for a place to maybe dump some items. So he turns on his phone, looks up, a good place, sees the river, comes down this way, gets some what he deemed necessary. These 2 stops here. Albertsons grocery store. But yeah, that's basically all I had on that. All the updates, a little bit on the timeline, and all of these crazy Kohberger fans. The sheath was what got me, unless he had an inside source giving him info. Yeah, so you had the sheath and you had the 15-minute timeline of him being in the house. And the question was, how long do you think the killer was in the house? Month later, the PCA comes out, and it's 15 minutes. So this Pappa Rodger was right about that and about the sheath. But he did make a million comments, and other guesses. How correct were those? Welcome in, Ashley. No, apparently like right before his arrest or right around the time of his arrest, it was like removed. What a sicko. And he didn't like it if you disagreed with him. Timmy, oh yeah, Sleuth, I think that Pappa Rodger was definitely him. Well, it kind of if you guys remember, they found out he put out a questionnaire before he was arrested. It was part of his class work or something like that. He was doing some kind of an assignment maybe. So it's almost like this was some kind of weird experiment. I think he was doing a study on criminals and like why they do what they do. I know, I can't remember. Maybe you guys can clear that up. Oh, that's disgusting. Hey, welcome in, Mother of Dragons. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Just a little quick live stream, little update. Maybe we'll do more coverage on the Idaho 4 and Brian Kohberger and all the craziness that's been surrounding it. It's very similar to the Delphi murders now. You know, it's very similar. But if you're part of the replay crew, you know what to do. Drop a comment. We'll get back to you. If you guys need to reach me, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. And until next time, yeah, if you could, hit that like button on the way out. Go share the video. And I'll see you next time. Peace out.